Welcome to the top 12 Super 7 Silverhawks Ultimates figures we want ASAP. Okay, well, there's a tongue twister for you. So now that Super 7's Brian Flynn spilled the beans in his January 31st YouTube video, we now know Silverhawks are indeed coming. And we at SpeekyGeeky are so freaking thrilled about this news. One might even go so far as to say we are over the Mon Star. Now, the details about this are still relatively slim, and we still have so many questions. But for now, we're going to let our curiosity work in your favor as we dive into our top lineup of who SpeekyGeeky would like to see make it into Super 7 Silverhawks line. But before we go any further, for the sake of giving attention toward figures we hope will get made versus figures we have a pretty good assumption of their figure making it into the line, we'll focus a bit more on characters that feel like they could be more of a question mark in the hopes of maybe pushing our thumb a little harder on the proverbial scale, as it were. To be clear, just because we will spotlight some lesser known but oh so cool cast members does not even in the slightest mean that we don't want all our main characters as toys in the line. Not going to lie, it is as simple as the fact that we're just greedy for the characters we love. So, no apologies given. All that said, Super 7 has been absolutely knocking figures like Thundercats and their past Masters of the Universe line out of the park by way of both articulation and selection depth. And we know whoever they carve out to be included in the initial line will be thrilled about their picks. But just the same, we can't help ourselves. So here we go. And yes, we'll refrain from diving into our selection for the Tiger Sharks line. We assume isn't too far down the road as well. However, only because that video will be coming very soon as well. For a deeper dive and to see 20 other characters who made our list, make sure to visit the SpeekyGeeky website at the link provided in the description. All right, here we go. SpeekyGeeky's top 12 Super 7 Silverhawks figures we want ASAP. For starters, let's dive into some main antagonists we've never seen previously in toy form before. Super 7 consistently gives 110% of attention to their toys. So who better than them to give us the figures we've always wanted in the way that we actually want to get them? Number 1, Yes Man. Yes Man seems the perfect candidate for this, with a sleek yet conniving demeanor, with a tail that could be either fully posable, rubber, or articulated to expand the coil effect, or both. Number 2, Poker Face. Moving right along that route of never before made figures, Poker Face tops our list for characters we've always wanted but never got. We imagine this character with multiple heads to signify his various slot-based moods and donned in his ever-classic and dapper attire. With this figure in the lineup, we know we'll feel like we hit jackpot. Number 3, Melodia. A Melodia figure announcement would be like music to our ears. Melodia is yet another of those awesome main rogues who never got their shot in the world of plastic. The fact that Melodia never made the original lineup means we now don't have any vastly different representation besides just her cartoon appearance to expect here. And with how super de-duper 80s evil Cyndi Lauper this character was, yeah, we're happy to have her be the one to walk in the sun. Okay. No more tone-deaf MrGeekE. On to number 4, Zero, the Memory Thief. So this dude looks like he seriously just walked off the set of Thundercats, hopped onto the first rocket ship off Thundera, and hailed the space cab right to the Silverhawks doorstep. How Zero hasn't had a figure beforehand is beyond us. But considering the bang-up job Super 7 is already doing with their Thundercats figures, doesn't feel like a far leap to assume they'll give this feisty memory thief the sculpt he deserves. We're talking movable chest tapes, bendable rat-like tail, and maybe a wand that connects to a translucent circle array to give the appearance of him stealing foes' memories. Number 5, Buzzsaw. Finally, the first character on this list that isn't just one that hasn't had a previous toy. No, Buzzsaw did in fact have representation in the original toy line. It's just that his toy had a very different color scheme than how he appeared in the cartoon. We're not sure where his green, black, and yellow paint scheme originated, but if we had to make an educated guess, is that they felt that his series' accurate gold and brown wasn't colorful enough to make him stand out in the toy aisle. So someone suggested neon green, and boom, Kenner's Buzzsaw was born. This is not to throw shade on that action figure. We actually think that color scheme would be wonderful to have here as well. But we are thrilled about the idea of actually getting a Buzzsaw that is series color accurate for our collection. Number 6, Time Stopper. Someone at Pixar should come out on the record with a straight face and tell us that the Incredibles syndrome didn't, at the very least, get part of his inspiration from Time Stopper. I mean, that is some incredibly distinctive hair right there. Yeah, one could argue that Time Stopper borrowed his definitively 80s motif from the cult movie of that era, The Warriors, but if these two were in the same room, let's just say they may get confused for brothers more than just a few times. The way Time Stopper's powers worked was that he had a digital clock on his chest that, once activated, would essentially turn anyone and anything in his vicinity immobile. So, how Quicksilver used his powers in the X-Men movie franchise might be the best example. This is not to be confused with Silverhawks' own Quicksilver, whose powers did not at all work that way, but made up for that in him being super shiny. On the figure side of things for Time Stopper, it might be fun to see a non-articulated statue of one of the Silverhawks, or even better, a Penal Planet 10 prison guard as an accessory. Get your mind out of the gutters. It's the actual name of the prison planet. What could also be a lot of fun would be if his jetpack was included with attachable fire streaks that could double as a booster stand. Throw in some swappable number plates for his chest, and we got ourselves one overpowered Time Stopper figure that we'll be able to display proudly. Number 7, Mon Star, both pre-transformation and post. Okay, brace yourself because I'm about to nerd out pretty hard. In the past, the only version we got of this main antagonist was one who could change from one head to another, but shared the same general and, by today's standards, pretty plain toy buck. This was for a baddie so incredibly evil that he had to be named Star twice. We joke, but if you look at how his name is spelled, it does indeed read Mon Star. But we digress. With Mumm-Ra, SUPER7 has already shown us how a pre and post transformation can be done so beautifully right, and we should assume that given the chance, they will absolutely do the same thing here. This is also one of those characters that is pretty assured, considering Mon Star is the series' primary villain. To not have him would be like having a He-Man line without Skeletor. So really, it's just a matter of how awesome this figure will look when we eventually get him. If we're taking hypothetical bets, we'll go ahead and wager on maximum awesome as well as maximum versions. Number 8, Mo-Lec-U-Lar. Mo-Lec-U-Lar. That name is just so much fun to say. With this character, his design is just so utterly cool, and if done right, which we know it will be, it should be a blast. Brainballing this, in addition to having multiple free-floating molecules that could swirl around him, could be really fun to have additional Easter egg items packaged with him that he had transformed into within the series, like a box of cigars or an additional mid-transformation public officer head. Number 9, Darkbird. Darkbird is essentially Silverhawks' version of Bizarro. Where Bizarro is a funhouse mirror version of Superman, so too is Darkbird an upside-down version of the Silverhawks leader, Quicksilver. But for some reason with vampire teeth? We don't know. The 80s were a magical time. Darkbird seems a natural foil to have in our collection, and logically could even be as easy to get in the line as an additional head sculpt that comes with Quicksilver. It seems an easy way to get a new figure in the line, and a way for SUPER7 to convince us we need an extra Quicksilver purchase. For us, it's not a hard sell. Number 10, Bounty Hunter. Okay, fine. So his name leaves something to be desired and feels like the whole character was something of a post-it note placeholder until a better name and personality could be created for it. And maybe someone just threw away that memo, but credit where credit is due. Bounty Hunter has got some sweet designs going on here. Not sure if they were going for something that seemed like it stepped directly out of an episode of Filmation's Masters of the Universe cartoon, but the end result certainly feels, at the very least, inspired by the question, what if Beastman and Grizzlor somehow had a less hairy offspring? And we couldn't be happier for it. Number 11, Zeke and Seymour. Zeke and Seymour aren't who most people typically think of when the name Silverhawks is brought up, but that statement alone doesn't mean they shouldn't be. Even though these two characters don't have snazzy exosuits like the Hawks, they do manage to be in quite a few episodes, providing the ever-elusive space transportation and comic relief. If we are looking at the SUPER7 line as an opportunity to bring previously overlooked supporting characters into the toy fold, These two absolutely meet that criteria. Not that we need further fuel for wanting to see this goofy duo made, but just imagine if they were released as a convention exclusive along with the, dare we say it, Space Cab. You can laugh at us all you want, but the idea of loading up various spacefaring toys like Howard the Duck or Predator as backseat passengers and the ensuing conversations that would take place in toy currency, that's priceless. Number 12, Mumbo Jumbo. 4 words is really all we need for this guy. Rampaging Minotaur in space. I mean, what more do you really need in an awesome looking toy? That's it for this video. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll have a whole lot more of these types of videos coming up down the road. Don't forget, if you want to see our additional picks, make sure to head on over to SpeekyGeeky's website in the link in the description. And if you like this video, make sure to do all those fun YouTube-y things like, share, and subscribe. Well, that's a wrap for now, folks. So, as always, I'm MrGeekE, and until next we speaky, keep it geeky.